Hi there, good evening. It is December the 1st. Can you believe it? December 1st, 2023. My name is Dani Henderson, and I am the founder of the Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection, the greatest disclosure event on our planet as we go through ascension, as we learn to break down every single spiritual, religious, medicinal, any kind of system on the planet that's there. We break through and we bring you the truth. Now, today, I want to gift you another story from my book, Angels, Demons, and Aliens. A lot of you have been asking me to record another story or experience. It's a story, yes, but it's an actual true life experience that I've had in terms of meeting different kinds of spirits, demonics, lost souls, angels, beautiful angels, extraterrestrials. And so this book, Angels, Demons, and Aliens, is from my birth to now, and giving you insight because so many of you have had your own experiences. We need to validate each other. We need to say to each other, I read a book, Angels, Demons, and Aliens by Dani Henderson. And in that book, she had an experience that I did as a child. But when you were a child, maybe your parents didn't believe you, like mine then. And you grew up being called a weirdo or a witch or a demon yourself, as I have. And then one day you go, well, balls to the walls. I had the same experience. And what that does, it validates you, doesn't it? It validates you. It makes you feel less like a freak and a weirdo and a black sheep, and you stop talking so much unkindness to your beautiful self. Or that's my plan for you anyway. So I'm going to read you a story, another story from here. And you can get this book on Amazon. And this is obviously what the picture looks like. Click on the image and then you'll get to the book, Angels, Demons, and Aliens. So I'm going to share a story because sometimes when we see a spirit, a spook, an angel, a beloved, or something, and it looks wrong, it looks scary, we will always often jump to a solution because the brain kicks into fight or flight, safety or survival. The brain flips into what do I, as a human, need to do to protect myself. And so I have myself seen terrifying images, things that are so scary. And then the next second I breathe in, I feel the resonance, and it is a beloved. It is a beloved. Sometimes they are lost children, and sometimes they are really bad mudder wudders. So I'm going to start the story for you. And I'm going to turn the camera off. And when I have another point or a bit more to add, I'll put the camera on. But I would invite you to relax, enjoy the aurora borealis, the lights of the north, and come along with me as I read you The Man with the Bulging Eyes, and it's chapter 13 in Angels, Demons, and Aliens. I'll see you in a minute. The Man with the Bulging Eyes. During my years of being on the TV show in England that was broadcast live to the general public, I got a call from a lady in Chelsea, London. Oh, the sticker fell off. Well, we're just very real here. Do you like my glasses? They are $1 from the dollar store. See you in a minute. Oh, bugger it. Let me just read it to you. I just don't want to be a distraction. It's sometimes boring just seeing a face on the screen. Anyway, okay, here we go. I got a call from a lady in Chelsea, London. Chelsea's a really posh part of London. She'd seen me on the TV show, and also she'd been recommended to call me. Her name is Grace. It's not her real name. And she was absolutely frantic when I answered the phone to her. She told me that her daughter, Katie, not her real name, who was 10 years old, was seeing a male ghost in the house and it was haunting her. She'd asked psychics to come to her home and she'd had her house blessed several times. But the spirit was still there. Grace did not tell me about any other details at this time, as I asked her not to. I like to work with a blank canvas when I perform an investigation or I meet with someone in person. And that means that if you have called me to come and do an investigation on your land, your office, your house, your school, the hospital that you've just bought, it doesn't matter. You tell me you feel there's something there, that's all I need. Enough to know that I can then link in and I can feel if I can go on my own or if I need to bring a team with me. But I do not want you to tell me what you need, because I do not want you to give me images in my mind that when I get there, I'm then going to second guess what I've seen. So I don't allow anybody, when I do an investigation, to infiltrate me. And over the years, it's been so funny because I've had just hundreds and hundreds of clients and patients, because I'm a therapist too, as well as a reader. And so many times I've had people come and say, well, I've recommended my friend to you and she's just booked you. But I want to tell you that. And I'll just say, stop it. Don't tell me. Don't try and help me. I don't need your help. You're putting somebody forward is lovely for them. They have to be the ones that sit themselves in front of me, not because you ask them to, because they want to. Because again, you can't force someone, and well, you can, but it's never going to be good for them or for you, or for the reader. So I never allow anyone to influence anything. I just know there's something to be looked at. Let me go look at it. Yeah. Okay. So I never ever get anyone to tell me anything. I just like the blank canvas. And when I perform an investigation or meet with somebody in person, it was not until after this investigation that I sat down with Grace to give all my insights. And she told me that her daughter Katie told her that a ghost man kept asking her to play with him. And this little one was too petrified to sleep in her own bed. Grace has 3 other teenage children, and their home is a large penthouse that spreads hugely on the top floor of a Georgian mansion. And I agreed to come to the house the next day after my television show on British television in London. So when I arrived, I was amazed at the size and the architecture of this mansion that was now split up into several large apartments. Grace buzzed me into the ground floor entrance door, and as I went up the elevator, my whole internal electrical system was jangling nervously. Now, as a sideline, I don't get nervous. I don't let myself project forward. I'm very grounded in my love. I'm very grounded in my ability. I don't think I'm too special to not take extra care or extra people with me that also know what they're doing, because you don't want to be messing around, going into places, thinking that you're a demon slayer, all this ridiculous nonsense. It is dangerous. It is dangerous. And just before we go any further, I got my ass handed to me very recently. I thought I could help somebody I love who is owned by a really dark, dangerous demonic. And he's known about this demonic all his life. He's known the whole time there was a demonic with him. Yeah. But something in him convinces himself that it's the light or it's Jesus or whatever it is he tells himself. I stupidly thought I could help this beloved. And I tried on my own, using techniques I've learned over many years, to remove that demonic attachment from this person. And I failed. And I was knocked to the ground, unconscious, broke ribs. So do not be thinking that, oh, I'm going to be a demon slayer. I'm going to be a spirit gatherer. It is no joke. It is not fun. And it is very fucking dangerous. I'm telling you straight. Don't go there. Don't think you're all that in a bag of chips. If I have to have one more conversation about the Ouija board, oh my God. Ouija boards are demonic soul traps. Oh, look, Barbie, the movie Barbie. Barbie has Ouija boards. You want to see really what's behind that whole Barbie film? Anyone that sells a Ouija is a murdering psychopath. They're giving them as toys to your children to entrap their souls. Oh, yeah, let's all do it. Not. Very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. Okay. Let us continue. That's why I'm single. Oh, my God. Okay. My insides are literally jangling nervously as I'm going up in the building, because I could feel bad energy all the way through the body and the fabric of this building. Literally, this building was alive with something really, really dark in it. Horrible. Grace's housekeeper let me in and led me to a drawing room. It was gorgeous with Georgian furnishings, similar to how it might have been back in the day. Grace came into the room. This is the lady that called me originally. Very small, petite lady, gorgeous. She started telling me that that very morning, as she sat at her writing desk that faced the wall, that smoke started coming from the wallpapered wall. There was no electricity wired up to that part of the wall. The smoke was coming from nowhere. She'd screamed out for her housekeeper to help her, put the smoke out and dampened the wall. I put my hand on the black patch and it was sticky. I went over to it. It was a patch about that big on the wallpaper in front of her little Queen Anne writing desk. And I touched it and it was like, it was black and it was sticky. It was a really bizarre substance that came out of nowhere. So it was sticky, really unusual, but clearly spirits were trying to get her attention. Yeah. She was keen to show me around and started to walk down the long corridor that had rooms all the way off it. And all the way down on my left and right. And I'd asked her not to tell me anything, but let me feel into the energy. We call it the walk. The walk is very, very important. As she scampered down the hall, telling me, come this way, I was compelled to stop at a doorway, and so I entered. It was a small bedroom with a single bed and child's toys laid neatly and orderly on the bookshelf. To the right, as you go in, to the right there, was an old walk-in closet, and I jumped in fright as I suddenly saw a tall young man with brown hair and huge, I mean, like huge, like bulbous. I mean, brown eyes, yeah, brown hair, white guy, young, in an old-fashioned kind of suit jacket thing, and his eyes were unfeasibly bulbous, really wrong-looking, bulbous. He was standing there in solid form, as solid as me, standing in the doorway, completely solid. He wanted to make sure I saw him. Looking at me, and as I gasped, he looked shocked and immediately disappeared. And Grace came to the door and she seemed really irritated with me. And she said, I told you to follow me. What are you doing in here? She was quite emotional. She demanded to know what I was doing in that room. And so I informed her of the man I'd just seen standing in the doorway, and I described his physical being. And Grace literally fell to her knees and just burst into tears. And she said, oh my God, you saw him. You actually saw him. And I'm used to seeing many different reactions at paranormal investigations carried out by myself and my agency. But this is one of the most surprising. And it made me sad because this mother was so desperate to find help for her bewildered little girl. And I felt her urgency and her love deeply. One thing I didn't write in here was that Grace told me that her little girl was saying to her that the man with the big scary eyes kept, when she'd be playing with like her Barbie dolls, that the man would appear and he would say, play with me, heal me, let me heal you. And it kept happening. Imagine you're a 10-year-old little girl and you look up in your ancient, massive penthouse in Chelsea in London, some of the most expensive real estate they have. And there's this full-bodied man there that nobody else can see. And he's really scary looking. And Grace went on to explain what had been happening. As I took her hand and I helped her to her feet, she said that the man stands exactly where I'd seen him, in that doorway. And his daughter was in and asked her daughter Katie to help him, to play with him and to help him heal. Now I entered into the walk-in closet and Grace followed me, and I noticed in the far right-hand corner up in this old-fashioned space, a mechanical mechanism in a square-shaped orifice high in the ceiling. And I asked Grace, what was this? And she was stunned. And she said, I've lived here for over 14 years and I've never noticed that. How could I have missed it? It's amazing, isn't it? You're in this house, you've lived there, but you didn't look up in a certain corner inside a closet. And so you miss this mechanical contraption that's there. As I linked into it, as I went energy to energy with it, I knew at once it had been the food pulley, a Jordan pulley system on chains that would allow food to be placed on a wooden board in the kitchen in the basement and then pulled up to each floor. You know, the gentry, they'd ring a bell, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, hey servants, bring me my muffins for the afternoon. And then the servants downstairs in the basement would put the food, load the food on the pulley and then pull it up on a chain or a rope. They got more modern as the years went on, but this was the original food pulley system. Okay. a Georgian pulley system on chains that would allow food to come up from the basement to each floor. There would have been a bell system where the gentry that lived there previously would ring a bell for food, and the kitchen staff would place food on the wooden tray and pull the chain to allow the board pulley to climb floors of the home to the dining room or other rooms where food was needed. I am the biggest skeptic you'll probably ever meet, and I was slightly annoyed at Grace for trying to test me, trick me. When we do an investigation, we follow our guts, our intuition, and every person has this ability. We all have it. It is our guidance system. For me, I am a clairvoyant, which means I literally see. I am clairsentient. I feel everything too. Grace and I left the room and she took me into her huge bedroom suite. I felt energy there that had been created from her strife with her husband, and I spoke to her about how to clear this. I lit my sage and I did a blessing in her suite to clear the negative thoughts and literal arguments that had been created there. As we walked the rest of the penthouse, I heard banging and stomping in the ceiling above us. Grace said there are always noises up there, and she assumed it was the creaking of this old kind of Georgian building. I told her I felt strongly we needed to go up into the attic. And she took me to a hallway and she pulled down a ladder in the ceiling and we climbed up into her ladder. When we got to the top, this sprightly, tiny woman just tiptoed over floorboards and I followed her every step. When I stood at the top of the attic, I looked to my right. So the stairs went up like this. And when I got to the top, I turned around and against the wall, I saw the most beautiful, huge wooden crucifix. It was massive and it was against the wall right at the top of the stairs in the attic. It was gold with light blue and gold painted cherub angels. And I asked her, where did she get this and why it was there? And Grace told me that the local nuns had come to bless the home and gifted her that crucifix. I felt it was in the wrong place. I told her this and then I continued my walk, meaning that I would go back after the reading, which I did, and then say, that's not in the right place. It's not doing what it's intended to do, which is to protect the home and to help whatever's there, like move on, you know. And obviously the nuns, angels, nurses, nuns, they come because they were obviously genuinely scared for her and her family. Anyway, so the attic was absolutely huge and it covered the entire top floor of this epic Georgian building. There were so many boxes of storage that Grace began. She's a little OCD, Grace. Grace had packed these boxes up. And as we started to walk the attic, a box suddenly flew off the top of the pile of neatly stacked boxes and just like landed on the floor in front of us. Now, I'm used to such events. And sometimes it is not paranormal, but easily explainable. I told her that the box landed like that because we were walking in the attic and the box was placed awkwardly. So our physical movements had shifted the box. So I debunked that immediately. It was not stacked correctly. So let's not be thinking that it was a ghost that threw it, but rather let's focus on the walk. Grace sighed a breath of relief and then we continued our walk. I asked to walk ahead of her and to be allowed to feel what was there. I felt nothing until we came to the very end of the huge attic and there was a single back room. It was very dark, but as I slowly walked in, I saw in the far right-hand corner the most beautiful angel. It was standing guard over the spirit body of the man that I had seen downstairs in the child's bedroom. The angel was female, very tall, full wings as often depicted in biblical scenes, blonde hair and big blue eyes. She beamed at me, sending so much love, and I felt her compassion for the spirit man, that she was here to protect. The angel was literally with her back to me, beautiful wings, standing, bowed over the body of the curled up man that I'd seen with the huge bulging eyes, terrifying, demonic looking spirit from downstairs. The light of the angel was so bright that even though Grace couldn't see the full-bodied angel I was looking at, she saw the light. She saw the light. She saw the glow. And she asked me, what is that glow in the corner? I told her it was an angel that was protecting this poor, wretched soul. The body of the young spirit man remained lying down in embryonic fashion, and this was his safe place. As I started to slowly walk towards the angel, I heard deep, guttural growling, and I smelt a filthy stench, and the air changed around me. I felt incredibly negative. To my left was a wooden panel that was 2 feet away from the wall of the attic. I looked over the panel, and on the floor between the wall and the panel were several small pots that contained herbs, rotting meat, feathers, and some kind of dark oil. I linked into the feelings I felt, and I sensed black magic. Black magic. Before I had a chance to ask Grace what this was and why it was there, she told me that a psychic had come last week to rid the ghost and had laid these pots down. The psychic had rightly sensed this was the place of rest for the spirit of this young man. I don't mess with black magic. But I'm not an idiot. And if I don't understand something, I don't touch it. However, using common sense and my deep gut intuition, I knew that the dark energy coming from the pots and the black magic spells the psychic had created were frightening to the young man's spirit, and he was even furthermore stuck in this eternal hell of being in this attic and home. Grace told me that the psychic had screamed murder at the spirit man and had commanded him to return to hell from whence she thought he came. Sadly, the spirit still thought as he had as a little boy. He still thought the same thoughts. He was in an adult body now, but he was still with the mind of a child, a little boy. He was completely harmless and lost in despair. The psychic made his torment way worse. This makes me really cross and sad because some spiritual workers get it absolutely wrong. The spirit man knew that Katie, the 10-year-old daughter of Grace, could see him, which is why he was trying to reach out to her. He had the mind of an 8-year-old. I linked into the spirit of the young man and I asked him to show me his story. Long ago, over 100 years ago, this little boy had been a house servant. He had no family and was found abandoned on the street. Many children back in that day lost their families to illness. They were abandoned. The family couldn't take care of them, and there were many, many street children. He was a beautiful little boy taken in by the household to clean the chimneys, you know, where you light your fire and it goes up the chimney. Clean the chimneys, as he was so small that he could squeeze up them, and he was also used by the house servants to work in the kitchen. He was tormented and tortured by 2 adult senior house servants and endured terrible atrocities. These adults in the kitchen would beat him up and force his little body into the pulley system and shut the little wooden hatch, enclosing him in a suffocating darkness. He was a tiny little boy and could just about fit into it. They would leave him there for hours and find it, oh, so amusing. Back in the day, and sadly for some little ones to this day, certain adults enjoy tormenting our children. I can tell you that the laws of the universe that we exist with always find a way to deliver the energy we put out negatively right back to us. Maybe not in the exact same way, But our life force energy that we choose to expel has to return back to us, and it gathers up the same negative or positive emotional charge that we put out. This little boy told me his name was Archie. He received so many terrible beatings that he gained brain damage. After so many years of being forced into the pulley system and having his body crushed as he grew older and bigger, his eyes had taken on a bulging, bulbous, physical effect. Don't think too much about it. It is just too horrible. As we journeyed through the attic of the penthouse, I felt the need to go out on top of the roof. And this lovely lady, she showed me, Grace, who the owner of the house had called me initially, she showed me the trapdoor to get onto the roof. We climbed up and stepped out onto the enormous roof of the entire building. I further saw this young man's torture, and he showed me how he had been left on hot summer days, tied up on the roof, unable to move, and be burnt on his white skin, sunburnt. The weather in England is completely unpredictable, literally day to day, to the British Isles, literally day to day, due to the British Isles being an island that is governed by weather systems that can be difficult to determine, no matter if we're in the month of August. It rains all year round in different cloud anomalies, thus creating an indeterminable weather system. When it's really hot, the inhabitants can burn their skin significantly, especially us white people. And this poor white boy suffered such inclement weather torments where he was left tied up, bound, and unable to move for days at a time. I asked Grace to bring the black magic psychic woman back to the house to pick up her pots and remove them from the house and herself, for no one else to touch them. It's very important. If you've had someone that's come over that's got it wrong, and the psychic energy or the haunting in your home, your environment is worse because someone's come over, they need to come and take whatever they've left there, and you need a rethink. You need a rethink. Clearly, this woman using black magic was entirely the wrong kind of person to help a poor little boy in an adult body who was stuck in the earth realm from abuse for many years. There are earthbounds, there are stuck souls here, and this little guy, Archie, was one of them. I prayed with Grace, this lovely lady who had endured her daughter's connection with the poor dead spirit man. We both felt the angels come and create the light that he needed to finally free him on all levels from his place of torment. It was really quite beautiful to witness his departure and to know, see, and believe that what I had witnessed and what this mother and her daughter had experienced was not only real, but that it was truly time for his earthbound spirit to be returned to his home, his spiritual sanctuary, his heaven. Remember, not all spirits, spooks, ghosts are evil. Some are like Archie, a little boy with no one in the world, taken in as a servant, a little one who endured years of physical and emotional abuse that left him physically disfigured and with a mind of a child, tormented to the point of madness. Oh, this little child had always been too afraid to think himself worthy of heaven. Because you know the servants that abused him and beat him and crushed him will tell him every day the worst things about himself. You know that happened. You know this happens. Might have happened to you too. It's not true, of course. We're all worthy of the light and the love that's there for us. It is our duty to tell all children that they are worthy, no matter their religion. You know yourself how you felt or would have felt if your life had been like little Archie's. That's chapter 13, The Man with the Bulging Eyes, in my book, angels, demons, and aliens. Now, you know, there are also spirits, spooks, ghosts, apparitions, specters, whatever you want to call them, that mimic. They mimic. So there's another story in the book. I mean, there's a ton of stories and experiences in this book, all true, of course. Another investigation I did with an Irish woman. We went to a house where the little girl, she was 15, she had to leave ballet school because she was so sick in her body. And they'd always known there was something in the house. And the something in that house was one of the darkest entities I've ever seen. And at one point, I saw this beautiful little boy, but he wasn't a little boy. He was an entity mimicking as a little boy. So I got it instantly. I felt the resonance. I felt the shift. That's why I'm saying at the beginning of this session here, I said to you, the first thing the brain's going to do when it sees something is going to go fight or flight, fight or flight. If you'd like me to read that story, just make a note in the comments and I'll happily do another one of these. Some of you have the book, some of you will buy the book, and some of you would prefer to have the odd story here and there, and I'm happy to give it to you. All right, so till next time, beloveds, my name is Dani Henderson. The book is Angels, Demons, and Aliens, and it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. And I send you my love, and I will see you soon. December 1st, 2023.